Welcome to the Glue Pod.
Hosted by Eric Glueckauf.
Can we check in?
You kidding me right now? Go to your phone.
Featuring musicians, hucksters, and some of the shit.
Let's start the show.
All right.
What's up?
What's up, my man?
Yo, it's good to be back. Welcome back to the Glue Pod. I'm happy to have my next guest, Eric Garcia, here with me. And Eric is a man of many talents. Band leader, frontman of Juke, longtime booking agent in the city. Talent buyer. That's what they. Okay, that's the proper term in Miami, and also a accomplished boxer in his own right, and just a person with a lot of knowledge about the history of Miami as far as the music scene is concerned, and a lot of other stuff. So I'm excited to have you, man. I'm glad we have this platform to do this, and yeah.
Yeah, thanks for finally having me.
Yeah, man.
We all started our own little thing during this time.
Right.
During this year off. It's funny, you know. I want to be able to say one day that, like, the best thing that ever happened to me was the pandemic. Even though I burned through all my savings, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, it's inspired so many people to, like, seek out these other creative outlets and expand. I mean...
That's how storytelling happened. I never would have started that.
Yeah. And that's super cool, dude. Like I was happy to do it this past week, last week, and just got a feel for the vibe, and I love that type of stuff. Like, I don't think there's anything like that in town I've ever seen.
No, I mean they're doing. I discovered the Moth is a storytelling since '97. They do it all around the world, live storytelling, and I started getting into the podcast during. The pandemic, and my dog had surgery right at the very beginning. I was booking a venue over at the Hard Rock Guitar Hotel.
Yeah.
And the day I was bringing her in for $3,000 surgery on her knee, they called me and said, yeah, because they were just like, oh, when this is over, we'll be fine. They're like, no, you're laid off. Or the guy that hired me was laid off, therefore I was laid off. I'm like, oh, God. So I had to sit around with her, and now you see how energetic my dog is.
Yeah.
And she wasn't allowed to run for 8 weeks.
Oh, man.
So, but
that
was when everything was on full lockdown quarantine.
Right.
Like, nobody was even opening their fucking doors.
Right.
So I had her just with me, and I just was listening to the storytelling. And a friend had suggested that I do a one-man show because I have stories to tell. And at first I was like, dude, I've been a frontman for a long time. I've been playing and talking to people and audiences for a long time. It scared the shit out of me to just talk about me to people other than tip your bartenders and shit like that. It's hard. I had to work on it.
Totally.
A lot. And so I've been building up all the stories, and the podcast came, and then it looks like early 2022 I'm going to do the one-man show, and Juggernaut Theater is going to produce it. So
dope,
the Miami Motel Stories girls, Tanya and Natasha.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a real thing, like in a place with tickets, and I'm going to tell 5 stories and play 5 songs that had to do with the stories.
That's an
With a
awesome
set,
concept.
All kinds of shit. The blues opera.
I love it.
That's the blues
I
opera.
mean, did the podcast start at the same time as the storytelling, or was it
just storytelling just started, and then I created as a vehicle, like a platform that I could workshop myself, and then get other people involved and learn from them. A lot of comedians and stuff like that. And then I was thinking about doing a podcast. I didn't know anything about it. And then I invited Julio over, the sound guy from Monty's.
Yeah.
And he was like, this is a really good thing. This is really cool. We should do a podcast. And
Smart.
we kind of teamed up on it. And we're trying to get some money so we can video each one as well. Proper.
Right.
You know? But so I had to retell the story about my mother and her Alzheimer's for the podcast. And I was like, shit, do I have that in me to tell that again? And then I'm like, wait a minute, I got to tell 5 stories a night for like multiple nights. I better get used to this shit because, and that's like the kind of crown jewel of the thing was her story.
Yeah.
And the first time I told that story to an audience, everybody cried.
Wow.
Bartender, everybody. And then I was like, yes. I was like, I think I like ripping people's hearts out. This is really cool.
Yeah.
Like, it was a crazy feeling.
Well, it's funny because I don't know why exactly, but all these years I've known you, when I heard that you were doing this night, it was like, oh yeah, that's super fitting.
Yeah, so a lot of people said that, actually.
It was almost as if I felt like you had done this before. Like, I was like, oh, this is probably an extension of something back in the day,
It's
but
some
no.
shit that he used to do. He used to do a lot of shit.
No, but it's totally suiting. I feel like that there is something about people find themselves in these situations, like a podcast or whatever, that they have like a proclivity for it to begin with, and then they're like, well, why don't I expand on that?
Yeah.
But so many people don't take that step out of fear or whatever, or insecurity, is like, because it is, like you said, like, especially if you're going to reveal really deep, stories and things that really happen in your life. I mean, you have to be okay with putting that out, being on stage talking about it. And it's totally different. Like as you say, like being a frontman of a band, there's this protocol and sort of like, we're going to get to the song. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I have my bang, 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 my things, do this, that tip, whatever little
Unless you're one of those asshole frontmen that just likes to talk and do your opinion and shit like that.
Right.
Fuck Trump! Whatever. It's like, whatever you think. That's just, play some music, man.
Oh, man. I used to play with this artist, and it became like so intense. It was like she got really religious in the couple years, and then it became like her ceremony, like her sermon ceremony, her own personal sermon, and like literally to the point where we'd be on stage and she'd be like, stop the music, break it down, and then it's like, thank God those rehearsals were paid. Because it's like, you know what I mean? We put in all this work to have this certain show with the transitions all out the window.
Wow.
On stage, live.
For those that don't know, it's Uncle Scotchy's Storytelling Extravaganza every Wednesday night at Bar Nancy. You can go to unclescotchy.com and check it out on Spotify. Yeah.
And it is awesome, guys. Like, it is such a vibe. I can't wait to go back and watch. Like, it's cool when you there's like, you step into something that's like, this is different inside of the context of Miami, especially.
Yeah.
It's like, this doesn't feel like the usual.
No.
Did you grow up in Miami?
Yeah. Third generation on my mom's side.
I wanted to ask you, like, what is that like being a person who grows up in Miami and sees the evolution of it? I mean, through the 80s, 90s, everything.
Yeah, it's really, really changed a lot. I mean, we started in the Gables and we moved out to Kendall, and like where Kendall Town and Country Mall is now was a You Pick Strawberry field. I used to pick strawberries with my ma there. Then they built that fucking lake. That's not a real lake. Those are peacocks, by the way. Yeah, just watching everything. And, I came up in high school in the Cocaine Cowboys era. Yeah. And I went to a private school. I went to Gulliver. So I think you had to do coke if you went to my fucking school. And it was a crazy time.
Bar of entry.
And hearing about friends getting shot and different things like that. You're like, whoa, And then I would tell, girlfriends later on, maybe that happened to be a little bit younger, that didn't know about that. And they'd be like, what the fuck? You live like that. They'd watch Cocaine Cowboys. They're like, you lived here then?
Right.
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
But it seemed normal, though. And I used to hate Miami. I always wanted to get out.
Yeah.
I was just bitching about getting out. And I got out for 8 years.
You went to San Diego, right?
Yeah. And then when my mom got diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's, I came back. And then Miami, the last, I think, 5 or 6 years, I've been really starting to dig it, ever since like working at places like the Wynwood Yard and places like that, and just meeting all kinds of people. And then I go somewhere else, and everybody kind of looks the same. Like my dad came out to San Diego to visit me once with my mom, and he's like, hey, he's an old Cuban guy. Hey, Eric, where do they keep the black people around here, Because everybody's white,
right.
Right.
And
here, I kind of just dig everybody being from everywhere, even though some of it's really annoying as shit.
No, it is so. I actually feel uncomfortable when I go to another city and it's like super white, and you're like, even though I'm white, I'm like, I feel uncomfortable.
And I'm a Juban. You get those in Miami more than anywhere else.
Yeah. I'm just a Jew. So you get those in Miami too.
Jew.
Just a Jew.
I'm just a Jew. Poor me.
What's the South Park song? A Jew on Christmas?
Yeah,
it's really we gotta look that one up. I was gonna ask you, how did you get into? So we a couple years ago, like I talked about this at your storytelling. I got into boxing and everything, and I'm not gonna delve into all that, but I just obviously I hit you up and you hit me to the gym I ended up training at, and kind of helping me understand what it's like to navigate getting into fighting. What was it like for you? How did you what was introduced to it? Find the gym?
I always wanted to. And I grew up actually playing tennis. And it was kind of like my job. I was like kind of forced to. My dad wanted me to be around better people, and I wound up teaching tennis for a while after that. But I always, they never let me play football in case I wanted to play football. I like contact sports.
Yeah.
And what if you blow out your knee? You can't play tennis, that kind of shit. And then right after high school, I knew about a couple people. They told me about this gym on Grand and Douglas in the Grove. And at that time, the Grove was much more sketchy, especially that corner right across from Gill's spot.
Yeah.
And let me turn that off. That's rude. And it was a PAL gym, Police Athletic League gym. It was free.
Yeah.
So, and at the time I was borrowing my mom's ugly ass Toyota minivan. It was the ugliest. If you look up Toyota minivan in the 80s, it was like, they looked like toaster ovens. It was gross. And they hated that I said I was going to start boxing. My dad's like, oh, that's for poor people, but I wanted to do it. So my mom would let me borrow the van only if I could not park anywhere near the gym. So I used to park at the gas station. I think it's a Shell or Chevron on US 1, and then have my bike in the fucking van, and I would bike to the gym. And the first, the guy that ran it was Coach Baker. He was on the SWAT team. He was cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. Loved the kids. But I was like the only white kid. And nobody spoke to me for weeks. Like I would go, and Baker told me at the beginning, and I would just show up every day. And the gym was gnarly. There was no AC.
Right.
It smelled. And then after a while, finally, he let me start sparring. And I was getting the shit kicked out of me. I mean, it was controlled because he was there, but I mean, that's just was going to happen.
Right.
And I just kept coming back. And then after a while, when you share that, they see what you're made of in the ring. Yeah. And they see that, you're not just some white kid that thinks it's cool to try to go to this gym and learn how to box. And there's a respect, and it doesn't matter what color you are.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that's really been cool about boxing.
That's one of my favorite things about it. I always try to tell people that. It's like, and I had my buddy Jose, who because he used to be his sparring partner back in the day, and there was like this whole weird thing of how he ended up training me, and then you guys realized. But he's doing bare knuckle now.
Yeah, I know. That.
Yeah, insane. And
I'm busy.
Oh, insane. And he was telling me I was saying to him people think they can't walk into a boxing gym unless they're this or that, and it's like, well, actually the respect you get is just from showing up and doing the work. Yeah. And then it becomes people treat you like an equal, even if they see
what's
skilled.
in your heart. They see what's in your heart.
Yeah.
Keep coming back, keep getting hit, keep coming back, and you get a little bit better. And you're not scared, and that's the bond.
Yeah. No, and I remember when I was first getting into sparring and having headaches and stuff, and like a lot of people, they were close to me, like, you got to stop, you got to quit, all this shit, and it's like, obviously, I'm not saying that it is not good for your health. I don't know if it's a double negative. It's not good for your health, but it is a part of the rite of passage. It's like you are going to go through shit in the beginning.
I got my nose snapped early on, really bad. I made the mistake of when I was sparring, and the coach said something. I looked at him, and I got cracked, and it was just snap. And my nose was never right after that. I said this in one of my stories because Glenn Johnson was in my gym.
Yeah.
He used to call me Nose because I would bleed every time I would spar. I'd come in and be like, "Hey, Nose, come on, let's tap around a little bit. I'll bleed you a little bit today." And I would always bleed. It was just what would happen. And then I wound up having surgery later on because it was all pushed over and I couldn't breathe at night.
That was one of my biggest fears when I got into boxing. It was my nose broke.
I told you got a good little nose.
I know you did, and it's like I told you storytelling. I was so glad you told me. I was like, I hope he's right. And actually, I made the mistake, and like the other day in sparring, I took a right hand straight down the pipe, literally and the guy's slightly bigger, like pushed me off my feet, like I lost my balance, and nothing had no blood, nothing. I'm just like, damn, this thing's still holding up.
Yeah, you got a good little nose. You're all right.
I was wondering maybe it was all the coke I've done over the years. It's like just keeping the blood vessels nice and constricted.
That probably was a problem for me at the time because that's around the time that I was weaning off of that. I kind of got away from that around the time. Did a lot of damage, to the septum.
Yeah.
Takes a beating. Good times.
Yeah, man. Miami, cocaine and boxing, it's all part of the job.
Hey, man, gets you up in the morning.
Cuban coffee or... No, but,
Same thing.
How old was Glenn... You guys must have met when he was just coming up.
He was just getting ready to turn pro.
Okay.
He was the best. He was the big dog.
Right.
And
Right.
yeah, he was the big dog in the gym. He had a long amateur career.
Yeah.
And it was very frustrating for Coach Baker because what would happen is we had the 80, 90, and 100-pound national champ. We had all the shorties, and Coach Baker, he'd take them under his wing. We work with them, and then high school starts happening. They want money. They want chicks. Then they start selling drugs. So you have these badass Golden Glove champion freaking drug dealers running around the Grove. They get arrested. He vouches for them. Then they come back, but it's they miss their window.
Right.
And it's really frustrating for him because he would spend all this time with these kids, and then they would just ghost. And
it's tough because a lot of kids like that, they're using it to get out, but it's not easy to get out.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in the game.
Yeah. And if you want to be cool and freaking, they don't care. Nobody cares you're a boxer, but if you have money, you're good.
Yeah.
So how are you gonna get money when you're still an amateur? Sling.
It's crazy because Glenn, for those maybe listening, is he went on to have become a world champion, knockout world. And he wasn't even a touted amateur on that level that you would expect him. He wasn't.
He had to work for everything. His fighting style is the same as his career.
Yeah.
He's a fucking workhorse, and he's just gonna keep coming. He's gonna dig. He's gonna take. I've seen him take all kinds of shots.
Yeah.
And he just keeps going. He's a tough motherfucker.
Really is. Ironically, he ended up. I paid him some money to corner my
He told
first
me
fight.
he didn't like you.
He told you that?
No, you said.
Well, it's not that he didn't. It was that. Okay, he said. You know how Glenn is. To a certain extent, he's just a hard-edged dude. He basically. So right before I was about to go on, he was like, "If you embarrass me up there, I'm just gonna walk out and leave your ass." I was like. The shock of hearing that 2 hours before I was about to fight for the first time was
on top of everything.
On top of everything was
He's a world champion that's fucking you got a short leash with, and he's gonna fucking bail.
Yeah, but what honestly, literally, I was so terrified in that locker room getting ready for the first fight. So when he said that, it only made me more scared. But I waited so long. But once I walked up to the ring, I brought that competitive edge out of myself. I found it, and I looked at him. I was like, I let him know. It's I'm going to fight right now.
Yeah.
This isn't going to be...
He didn't leave, right?
No, he didn't leave.
Right.
He was surprised. He was surprised when I started, I didn't know what I was doing. I was off balance, but I was throwing punches.
Mm-hmm.
And, man, what a trip. What a trip. It was crazy because you told me the other night you had 50, 60 amateur fights.
Yeah, well, yeah.
30, 40...
around the 30s.
30s.
More, but I'm counting smokers.
Okay.
Counting smokers.
Yeah.
So... For those who don't know, the smokers are one gym goes to another gym, or multiple gyms will get together and they match you up. You have no idea who you're going to fight, and they just match you up with weight more than experience, unfortunately. But by weight. So you might get a guy that's been in there for a while. You might get lucky and you might have some kid's first fight, and then you've had a bunch. But it's like I said, it's good to have three types of people to spar. The one better than you, one as good as you, and one not as good as you.
Absolutely.
No,
that is the truest thing, man. And it's tough to find that perfect. I feel especially nowadays, as the way the gyms are and the sport, it's just really hard to find that perfect. Getting everything aligned.
Especially with the whole shadiness of the general thing of the sport and everybody that controls it. It's just all the way to the top. It's not regulated on any level.
No.
So why would the bottom?
Well,
anything but a cesspool.
It's crazy that I was able to fight during COVID at all.
Yeah.
It's just kind of shows you how bizarre the whole thing is.
They just kept going.
And at the first tournament I went to, they were like, "Oh, we're going to try to socially distance up until you get into the ring."
Yeah.
So, it's are you serious? And of course, 200 kids showed up to fight. There's nothing else going on. Everyone's trying to get their keep going. But that's still, dude, that's a lot of fights. It makes me want to fight more. That's a lot of fights. You have 35. That's...
When you're doing it, every couple weeks, and I started, kind of traveling a little bit with the Grove Gym, We'd fight against the Liberty City Gym, or we'd go, fight against, West Palm and stuff like that. So it was really cool. We'd run together. We trained together. It was pretty awesome.
How long did it take how many fights did it take? Now, this is for my own research, maybe, did it take till you felt like you could do what you were doing in sparring in the fight, where it felt as comfortable? Because my memories of the fights, it's just so intense. I'm like, shit, I don't know if I'm ready to enter into that again. And the sparring is getting better.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when does that transfer over, or does it not?
No. I think I remember feeling comfortable right around the end of when I was in Miami, around the end of that time. And then when I went to San Diego, I started. I found this boxing gym, and the guy really liked me. I used to go there. I didn't pay membership. I would show up and like wash the freaking mirrors and clean everything. I would do my own workout, and then I would kind of try to pick up training people in the afternoons. And then that's when I started being a sparring partner for $20 a round, because they were getting all these kids from across the board in Tijuana.
Right.
These shady promoters would bring these Tijuana kids over and get them ready, and then sometimes they would be way better than me, but physically weigh a lot less.
Yeah.
Or
so
they wanted a big guy that could just
right.
take a bunch of punches
right.
or whatever. But at the time I was I think 67 at the time, 167 or around that time. I started in the 50s, and then I was in the 60s there. Now I'm significantly
And you get
bigger.
some kid from Mexico, 130 pounds, who could just crack.
Dude, yeah. You don't think,
Yeah.
And then, I remember there was actually a Mexican kid they brought into the Grove gym that he was turning pro, and they wanted me to move around with him because, and I was getting so frustrated because I couldn't hit him.
Yeah.
And I started like trying to hit him really hard, and he lit me the fuck up, and like bad.
Yeah.
Like I bled way more than I usually bleed. And coach goes to me, he's like, dude, you got to understand what it is to work with somebody. He'll go as hard as you go.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you start trying to take his head off, he's going to show you.
Right.
And he showed me.
No, and we had this conversation. It reminds me of, because we were talking about, man, have you ever had people slide in your DMs and like once you say, oh, maybe this is a social media era thing, and like, so you were boxing before this, obviously, but it's like once I started posting about boxing, I get these random people like I've known, like, oh, you want to spar, or just using that term so loosely, like and it's like not even knowing what that means. It's like, dude, like. So much to break down there.
No,
it's like a condescension of sorts.
It kind of, yeah. Well, they don't know. It's like
know.
they're ignorant, man. It's just it happens with music too. People ask for fucking stupid shit.
Right.
Last night I was doing a one-man band thing at Tobacco Road.
Yeah.
This guy's like, "Hey, you play harmonica? Can you play us some Blues Traveler?" I'm like, first of all, he's one of the best harmonica players ever. Even if I could play kind of like him, I'm kind of doing a lot of other things. I'm playing drums on my feet and guitar and everything. You fucking jackass.
Right.
Really,
right.
You're going to ask for Blues Traveler?
Freebird.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's steady.
No, I mean, it's like...
But asking to spar is almost like asking a band to play Freebird.
Yeah,
like, shut the fuck up. It's not even worth an answer.
No. And it's like... Oh, God. Yeah, no, I had one the other night. A dude was like... He's like, I have martial arts experience. Like, I could show you some stuff I know with footwork or something. I'm like, dude... I'm about to oblige you. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like the amount, it's like show up at 9 a.m. at Tropical Park. That's where I'll be. And it's like, when you put so much work into something, it just drives me crazy. But it's just like you said, when people, it's like, people don't, I feel like that's why, people who've never invested their whole being into a craft, whether it be music or sports on the level, and you've done it with tennis. And I feel like we have a lot in common like that, because like, and I didn't connect the story that well because I was nervous on the storytelling, trying to talk about fencing and how, like, leaving that and then coming to boxing, how they're related, but it also was like a part of me it brought out and that I missed. But it's like when you've gone that deep into these different things, like you just understand that no matter what you're taking on, podcasting or storytelling, whatever, it's like there's a big learning curve, and like being humble is one of the most important.
Well, there's a process. You can't just go from just, hey, throw this up, you just go in there, do the work, go to the gym, this and that. There's a protocol just like anything else.
Right.
You can't just show up and then, you know. And then what happens if you beat the shit out of them?
Exactly.
Then what?
It's
now
like,
what? You want to spar again?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's like
what do you do for a living? Why don't I go fucking, oh, you're a chef? We should cook together. It's the same thing.
Exactly. No, and that's the thing is, like, I feel like a lot, that's why you get
so
people.
I've done some cooking.
Yeah. No, and it's like people, and that's why it's like the people who do this kind of shit, it's like you'll be on a gig, it's like, my buddy plays drums, that type of mentality. Like, that person has never obviously done anything in their life that required insane discipline. It's like, because if you would understand that that's a straight disrespect.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way when people are, don't treat boxing with the kind of respect I treated it with. And, I was like the appropriate fear that you should have, at least. Yeah. Of what can happen in there, and the respect.
It's more of a respect.
It's the respect, and like people who work hard at it, and like I want to choose my sparring partners like very carefully.
Because it's just not a game.
No, you can't play it.
It's not a game.
It's the one you
really
can't play.
Hurt. Yeah.
So I wanted that's a good segue because I want to ask you about James Toney. I know he's your guy, and it's funny because you recently been in touch with him.
Yeah.
And you got a chance to spar with him.
Yeah.
Was that in California or was that
was
here?
In California. Yeah, I was in California. It was kind of an happy accident. He's, first of all, James Toney is my just all around favorite fighter ever. I admire his talent more than anybody else. And then I was working at that gym, and we were supposed to have a benefit for kids. There's all these kids that were supposed to show up, and James Toney was living in LA at the time. He was going to come down and spar. And my parents actually happened to be in town. From Miami. They had not been to San Diego for like 5 years, or the whole 5 years I was there. And they happened to be there. I had told them that because they had to pay for my nose surgery, and I had told them that I'm like, no, I'm just teaching. I'm not sparring anymore. Lies.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't blame them. If my nose snaps again, guess who I'm going to ask for fucking money?
Of course.
So I'm so excited. James Toney's coming down. And I'm like, everybody's there. All the kids are there. My parents are there and stuff like that. And I get the guy calls me into his office, the owner of the gym. He's like, hey, Eric. He's like, might need you to move around with James. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, the sparring partner chickened out, and we need you to go with James. He's like, would you? I'm like, absolutely, And then and he's outside the office there with his people, and he's kind of a scary looking dude, He's had a rough past and everything, and he's standing there. I'm like, Mr. Toney, I'm Eric. I'm gonna be sparring with you. I just wanted to let you know you're my favorite fighter. That Roy Jones fight was bullshit, and I'm just really honored, Yeah. And he gave me a big smile.
Yeah.
And he was being cool. So then I get into the ring with him. And I'm wearing headgear. He's not. At this time, he's like getting up around cruiserweight, and I'm still like super middleweight, and so he's bigger than me already. And I get into the ring, but he's never fought me before. I've seen all his fights.
Yeah.
So we go in, and the bell rings, and he does this thing that he does the shoulder roll.
Right.
He turns to his side, he turns to his right, and blocks with his shoulder. So I walk in and I feint. And he does a shoulder roll over the side, and I step over and I crack him right in the middle of the forehead with a hook.
That's amazing.
And it hurt my hand. I was like, fuck, James Toney's got a hard head. And he goes, oh, shit. I was like, oh, shit.
That's so good.
And he proceeded to kind of work me over for a while. I mean, he never really, of course, James Toney could take me out when he wants, but sometimes he would show me a little bit, but
that's cool that he was cool.
Oh, he was so cool.
Because he didn't take advantage of that moment and be like, all right, now I'm going to knock you the fuck out.
There's like 90 kids there, You got to knock some fucking dude out.
Right.
But I'd be like in the corner just so tired, and the bell's about to ring, and he would sneak over and he'd put his like glove over my head, and when it rang, he'd tap me on the head. All the kids would laugh.
Yeah.
And then, but I described to people what it's like being hit by him was like when you're a little kid and you're like in a vintage car, and they just like a Cadillac, and someone slams the door. It's like pressure. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And that's what. But as soon as the fight was over, I have that picture with him. That right before that picture was taken, he goes, "You did good with your quick little ass. I had to adjust to you." I was like, "Oh." That's why I had such a big smile on my face.
You're like, this is it. I'm done now.
Yeah, pretty much. I sparred James Toney. Nobody can take that away from me.
No.
Yeah.
And you're being your hero, no less.
So when I hit him up on Instagram, he got back to me. I was cool as shit.
It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be so cool if you got him out to storytelling night or something in Miami.
He would be the best. Because he was world-class shit talker, too.
Oh, yeah. That's amazing. So I didn't get a chance to ask you how you got into blues and harmonica and your whole music side.
I was 17 at University of California, Santa Cruz. I got really, really into acid. I was just like just tripping out. That was my thing. That's when I said fuck coke.
Yeah.
I was like, coke sucks.
Yeah.
And my roommate, he didn't like me very much at the time, and he was a rugby player, and I was on a partial tennis scholarship, and I started getting really into rugby. I like to take acid and play rugby. It was awesome. I joined the team, and he got me into it. He didn't like me because I was always fucking high as fuck. And then he put on a record, Hard Again, by Muddy Waters, and James Cotton was playing. I was like, whoa, what's that? He's like, what? I'm like, that sound. He's like, harmonica. I'm like, I've never heard harmonica sound like that. I'm used to like the Sesame Street harmonica and shit.
And this is
like
why
that.
you're tripping.
And I just started, and I was tripping. I was like, I got to learn how to play that. And I became obsessed. with playing. I moved back. I took a lesson from this guy, Fleet Starbuck, this old blues guy. He died of lupus, actually. He was a Jehovah's Witness. He wouldn't get medical attention for it, and he wound up dying. And but Fleet was the shit. But I played so much, and then I moved in with my first live-in girlfriend at 18, and she had a good job, and she had a nice apartment. I moved in with her. She had a rule that I wasn't allowed to practice harmonica while she was home. And we used to fight. I'd be like, one day I'm going to play in front of people on a stage, and they're going to pay me. She was like, never. That's amazing. But I was hell of annoying when I think back, though. I mean, I was always playing it. I had it with me. I had it in bed with me. I had it everywhere. She's like, fucking stop that. She probably had a point. She sounds like a bitch in that story, but yeah, I was just playing too much.
That's amazing. So I mean, so from that point, you were like start taking lessons, or
no? I took one from Fleet, and he told me who to listen to, and I started like, I wish I had the internet then, I would get these like tapes and stuff like that. Baby, take it easy.
Hey.
You know what?
He's like, somebody play with me right now.
She just wants some peanut butter put in that thing. If you get a knife, there's peanut butter on the counter. You put some peanut butter in there, she'll be busy for. She'll leave you the fuck alone.
Vegan protein.
Yeah. Little vegan dog. No, I got really, 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 really into blues, like hardcore. But then when I moved to San Diego, my roommate was this front guy for the best band in town, and they were just like the most talented band I've ever heard. They were all over the place. And they used to kind of make fun of me because I was just like all into like just blues. And it helped me there you go. Put it inside. So she got to work for it. There you go. Oh, close one. And so I started trying to learn how to play other things. I started listening to saxophones and trying to learn sax lines and stuff like that. So I started, and I was always trying to sit in with everybody. But at the time, it was like the 90s, and there was like a lot of like that kind of funk and Latin and shit going on. And so I had to learn how to play like these other horn lines. And minor. Most harp players can't even play minor. So then I took a lesson when I moved back to Florida from a guy named Jason Ritchie, who's just...
I know Jason, not personally, but I've seen him play. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, so you've seen him play. So he's
another thing, man.
Dude, he was playing at this shithole called the Hurricane in Marathon, 2 nights.
Yeah.
And I got a hotel next to the Hurricane, and a friend introduced us, and the next day, during the day before his gig, he spent 3 hours in this room, just fucking showing me all this shit, patterns and different scales and techniques and writing shit. He's like, have a pad, record it. And we just sat there and drank Red Bull and smoked cigarettes for hours. And then another time they were on tour and he stopped. It was my birthday. And he fucking came to my house and he sent the fucking band to go fucking hang out in South Miami while he gave me a lesson. Never charged me a dime.
Good dude.
And but all you have to do, especially with harmonica, just give somebody a bunch of shit. It's like, go learn this, and then come back to me when you know it. Because it's not like you could tell somebody to put their finger somewhere. Right. It's all in your fucking mouth. There's a lot of shit you got to learn.
Yeah.
So I got into that, and I never even wanted to sing. I was playing the house band at Titanic, the blues band over there, and then the main guy left. And the drummer, Judah, he goes, he's like, you sing, right? I'm like, no. He's like, you sing now. You have to. And then I had to start singing all these blues songs, and I was in a band called King Beat.
Yeah.
And I just played harp with them. They started going kind of in a different direction, and then I realized that you can't. I had songs. I'm a writer too. I'm a lit major, so I had songs that I wanted to get out there. But you can't make people play your song if you're just playing harmonica.
Right.
You got to learn how to sing. So, just singing is just.
Started just doing it on the gigs, and just working it.
Yeah, and then just got some guys together that I met over there. Broberg. Broberg's moving back into Miami.
Where's he at now?
He moved to Dallas for a while. And he got this really cool girlfriend from Miami, though, and then he's up in West Palm with his parents, and then now he's moving back down the street, same spot. He wants to play death metal now. He's so fucking weird. If you know this guy, I love him, but he's the weirdest dude,
Yeah.
He'll just text me. I hadn't heard from him in like 2 months. He texts me. He's like, "You trying to party?" I'm like, "What the fuck is this?"
That's amazing.
That's how he says hi. You trying to party?
The first kid recording was in his garage.
He has a really good ear for recording.
Yeah, like 2000 guitar player. He went on tour, remember, with the emo band.
Yeah.
To New York. Then he was in LA doing like rap records.
Damn.
Secondhand Serenade or whatever. He was in that freaking boy band. Oh God. He had to wear like no shirt and a scarf while he was playing for like all these people, like in Boston and everywhere, Japan.
That's a diverse.
He sold out. He knows he did.
Hey, if anybody wants to increase my pay, whatever kind of selling out I could do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. You brought up Jason Ritchie. My dad, he lives in Tallahassee and he goes to the Bradfordville Blues Club. Yeah. It's like his home away from home. And one time I was visiting him, and he's like, "You got to see this guy, Jason Ritchie. He's insane." And we went, and I was like, sounds like electric guitar. I mean, he's plugging through an effects pedal. I mean, and he's just so fluid. And I'd never seen anybody play harmonica quite like that. Yeah. Is there anybody who?
Well, there was a guy named.
Someone taught him. I remember they were telling. There's a guy.
There's a guy.
He has his picture on the wall until like with a hat or a certain.
His name escapes me right now. God damn it! I'm just disrespectful because he was the guy that really. And there's another guy named Adam Gusso.
Yeah.
Too. That was in a band called Satan and Adam, a two-piece.
Yeah.
They got famous because U2 filmed them playing on the streets of Harlem. There's this white kid and this black dude doing a one-man band together, and so Adam Gusso was really influential with Jason, and I'm gonna remember as soon as you leave the other guy.
Yeah.
But he just took it to the next level though with all these patterns and
almost like an electric guitar.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just crazy ways of playing triplets and stringing things together. And then mastering, there's a technique called overblows. There's a lot more harmonica, the notes that are on the harmonica that you have to know how to play.
Yeah.
It's kind of recently discovered because like chromatic players and diatonic players kind of have a beef with each other. They think we're like caveman and we think they're freaking snobs.
Yeah.
There's no soul in the chromatic. But there's been a bridging of the gap with Howard Levy's the best one at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jason Ritchie's. If anybody wants to check out the most insane harmonica ever, Jason Ritchie's the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. He's finally getting like his due now. He's doing, I think he's got a Grammy for something, or he played at the Grammys.
Yeah.
He lives in New Orleans now.
That makes sense. Yeah. So then, when did Juke start, and how did you get the inspiration to start that?
It was out of. That's when I was doing the blues jam all the time, and then playing with King B. I was frustrated. That's when I met Broberg.
Yeah. And
Broberg and I both liked. We wanted to do basically all like a groove blues, like R.L. Burns, like Mississippi. It was all about the groove. Stay in the one, and it's all about dynamics over changes and things like that.
Yeah.
That was kind of the basis of it. And then I met Ulysses on drums, which didn't like playing with.
He slept with Madonna, right?
Who?
Ulysses?
Did he?
That was on the website. Did you?
Oh yeah, I made all things. I try to make people.
It was amazing.
Yeah. You want to fact check
What's
me?
the name of his band?
Huh?
He had a band. Ulysses too, with like electronic band.
Yeah.
The Anonymous.
Yeah, that's right. Out of the Anonymous, and very Ulysses title. And bass players, there was a few. I was lucky to have Rodrigo for a while.
Yeah.
I forgot who was before.
First gig in the U.S., baby.
No shit.
Yeah. Rodrigo's first gig in the U.S. Yeah. The Mexican sensation.
Hey, you can't live with them, can't live without them.
Right?
Who was this? I mean, everyone has played. Monkey played for a minute? No.
Monkey played in Juke.
The
obviously
elusive,
Eric Garcia.
tying down the elusive good bass players that exist in Miami is not an easy thing to do.
I mean, I like mine now. So
yeah. Well, I said once you get one you like, you can hold
a
on.
monster.
Yeah.
He's definitely a monster. You just sometimes you just gotta take the leash off and let him go.
Right.
He does a lot of creative soloing. He's another soloist in the band. It's weird.
Yeah. Hey, he's a freak musician too. I mean, I know if
he's all around.
Yeah, he can play drums.
His story was really. He's a very good storyteller.
Yeah.
He's there almost every week.
I saw a clip of him doing it, and I was like, man, this. I mean, he could almost do a bit. He's so like comfortable.
He did a really good one about his father, who was a musician. Why he wanted to learn. His dad.
That was a percussion player, right?
His dad was a drummer. Yeah.
Drummer, yeah.
He played with some famous. He played with Talking Heads for a little while and people like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Brother.
Huh?
Damn.
The Brecker Brothers, Jacko.
Yeah, he knew all those guys. He played with those guys. Yeah.
That's wild. I mean, it makes sense. Marcel's he knows a rhythm. Like he's just got that
He's super musical.
Yeah.
I always say if I'm not the worst musician in my band, there's a fucking problem. That's the thing.
Amazing.
I better be better than you, otherwise you don't belong in my fucking band.
Yeah.
That's it. I've had a lot of different players, but with a few exceptions, they've all been really, really good.
Yeah.
Really, Brian Lang, fucking,
Hell yeah.
you know, Taylor, Evan, Jesus Christ, you know.
Yeah. I remember we did
Max Farber.
Yeah. I remember we did Wani back in the Politics days, and I saw you guys with Lang, and I was just like, man, Lang is freaking murking these tunes right now, and just he had the train beat so down and everything.
Everything. It's just I had never played with a drummer up until then that knew he knew the words.
Yeah.
Most drummers don't even know the words.
Yeah.
He knows the words. He knows how the song's supposed to go. He's very musical. He would help arrange songs a lot.
Yeah.
You know, him and Evan and Taylor, they would just start talking way over my head after a little while. You know, when we'd really the few times we get together, because I loathe rehearsing, but well, when we would, they were just invaluable, man. It was crazy.
And how do you? I wanted to ask you just from the like the booking side of things, like being down here. You know, I had Afro Beta on the pod a little while back, and we were talking about the era of PS14 and Vagabond and Tobacco Road, and just like the different aesthetic. Because those are the places I started playing down here. That was all there was 10 years ago. And like as a booking person, like the stuff you've seen and how the vibes have changed, the venues have changed, and the audience, like.
Yeah. Well, I started doing booking when I was in San Diego. I told part of the story that guy, my roommate that fronted the best band in town. I was managing a little shithole dive bar, and they did me a favor by playing there for the door, and it got packed, and then they liked it, and even though they didn't make as much money, and then it became like super trendy and cool to play my little shithole. Plus, they knew that I played harmonica with that band too. So at the time there was a lot of animosity, I think, here and there between venues and bands. I think venues didn't treat bands very well. They treated them kind of like the help, and bands, were not getting respected right. And so, as I moved to Miami and I started doing it. I was booking boogies.
Yeah. And
a lot of bands were pissing me. They let me do whatever I want. I made it a rule that would be all original bands, no cover bands allowed.
Yeah.
A lot of cover bands were pissed off, but then a lot of cool things started developing there. Aaron Lebos came, and I told him that the name of his band was boring, so he called it Jazzilla for a while, and they would bring a little Godzilla fucking statue. Aaron. Yeah. He liked it. He was like, Jazzilla. I'm like, really? Just your name?
I'm gonna bring this up to him on the pod.
Do it. No, he'll corroborate all the whole thing. Yeah, he brought a little freaking Godzilla with him for gigs for a while, but it was cool. And then I got picked up and I started booking the stage, and working over there, and that was really cool because I got to work with local acts, and then that's more national acts as well, and that got really interesting. And I started doing like the Swamp Stomp.
Right.
Remember the Swamp Stomp festivals? Working with the UM kids doing those. And my ties with Fishbone from California when I had them.
I remember that show, Tobacco Road, too, when they had the outdoor stage.
That cold-ass show.
Cold. It was so cold. It was the weather.
That storm ruined me, man.
Yeah. No, it was rough, but, man, those guys are legends.
Sister Sparrow and the Dirty Birds played also.
Yeah.
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 They got pretty famous.
Yeah. I remember hearing about Fishbone, like, a long time ago. That's why I was like, wow, they're coming down here. It's like...
They're like my James Toney of bands to see live.
Yeah.
They're just live. They still bring it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Do you think that, this era of Miami music venues has more of a bougie audience than it did back in the day because the live music isn't sort of segregated into these kind of funky communities? It's in these very, like, posh spots to be.
That kind of goes back to the last question. Back at I don't know, 15, 20 years ago when I was booking here, every band was required to draw, and your value was based on your draw.
Yeah.
And their ability to promote. I mean, it was like freaking on MTV. They had like that reality game. It was like, I forgot what it was called. That they different bands in a van. They tell you like with 24 hours, you got to play in this city. You got to flyer and get as many people as you can. It's a competition,
Yeah.
Bands on the Run or Bands on the Road, some bullshit. It was a bad name. And now, it's. I mean, you can definitely say that's a douchier crowd. People don't. A lot of times, it's not cool to be into the band, or until it is.
Right.
And then everybody just kind of gets down. Like I was at Heartland on Saturday, and there was people were surprisingly attentive. I think people were actually starved of live music during this time.
Yeah.
And so now it's about, I think it's just performance. And then now all bands are basically, their value is set by their followers.
Right.
That's currency. That's why nobody needs to sell their music anymore. You know,
Right.
I could listen to all of Zeppelin on Spotify. Who the fuck am I to charge $20 for my record? But
Yeah.
followers are currency.
Right.
And that's how I, as a booking agent, I'll check the algorithms and which city that they do well.
Yeah.
And now, so it doesn't even matter so much where you play, but if you can get new followers from a place instead of bringing your fucking shitty friends that don't want to pay a cover and they want to get on the door, that's
Right.
another thing. Cover charges. Who pays a cover charge?
No.
I didn't.
Who charges a cover?
I did an experiment once in San Diego at that little shithole that we charged $2 to get in.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how many people walked away. You want them to spend that money at the bar. I learned that especially at Wynwood Yard. Wynwood Yard. Now, see, that was a douchey crowd, but it wasn't. There were some really cool people that would come. Like the music heads knew to come out.
Right. That was a tough one if like you were on a Wednesday booking and you were a local band and you just didn't have your people there, or there were other bands playing that night, and then you just have this crew that like this crowd that just did not give a shit. But then you'd see those nights where it was like, especially brought in like an Nth Power or all these, and then once the people came, I mean, the place was great for it.
Yeah.
And when the shows there that were great, they were special, man.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not to complain about any night where it's not a show. I'm getting paid to play music. I mean, this is part of what we do. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you go to a gig, and sometimes it's not, going to be, that special of a night, and you're still getting paid. You're getting to play, and that's.
I've gotten grumpy and grizzled. All my ex-girlfriends have heard me do the same freaking thing. I'm always like, fuck. I wish this was tomorrow.
Right.
I don't want to go.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. And then I come back late at night, half drunk. How was it? Awesome. We had the best time,
Right.
It's like you forget.
You do. But maybe we're spoiled, too, because there's so many opportunities to play down here, and we've all been down here kind of sowing our seeds to have the ability to kind of just know where every place is and play all of them.
I think, unfortunately, especially in I don't know if this is other cities because I only live here, I think musicianship has really gone down a lot, to be honest. I think, especially my short time booking Las Rosas, I brought you guys in there.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
That wasn't a great fit for me.
Yeah.
That wasn't a great fit for me because a lot of these bands, they got attitude.
Yeah.
Like, don't know who I am. They got attitude. And a lot of them seem to be spending more time freaking on their look than on their music. It's a lot more performance art.
Right.
Like you look like you're really rocking out and shit like that. And I wasn't really down with that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these kids can't even, learn a scale.
Yeah.
They can't even play their instruments, half of them.
Yeah.
And they're getting up there and people are like, oh, wow. I'm like, oh, this, not to be
Yeah.
fucking old guy yelling at a cloud, but, that wasn't a good fit for me.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why you kind of do. There is sort of like the higher level musicians are kind of segregated to these certain venues, and then you just always play there. And it becomes this kind of thing where it's like maybe these places need more different types of music, but also I want to play personally at these more underground places. That's why I loved Las Rosas for the aesthetic alone, and it was like getting to just be more in the community a little bit. Like it reminded me of back in the day because it's like. I'm grateful for all these places like La Nyap and stuff, but you just get to this point where it's like everyone's dressed up like they're going to live, they're drinking wine. It's like, man, where are the real people at?
There's a few, man.
No, there are, but you know what I mean? It's just, that's just part of being a professional musician. It's like you got to go where the money's at, but there is a couple venues I'm looking forward to kind of that are, hopefully will reopen in post-pandemic.
What's up, sweetie?
What kind of dog is she?
Huh?
What kind of dog is she?
It's a Blue Nose Pit.
It's a good one. How long you got her?
About, I don't know, close to 2 years now. She got her from a rescue. She was all messed up when I got her. She had mange, and her head was split open when they found her. The rescue is called Bullies and Beyond Rescue. It's a pit bull based rescue. And we actually got her for this other dog I had, Ray, me and my ex-girlfriend. I didn't want another dog, man. My dog died a long time ago, the one that's on my tattoo.
Yeah.
Ali, you knew Ali. He was cool as shit. And I didn't want another dog after Ali died.
Yeah.
And then my ex just kept going. She wanted a dog. We wanted a dog. We finally got Ray. And then we wound up getting her to keep Ray company. And then when we divorced, I guess, she never liked This dog.
Yeah.
She's like, and that dog was always kind of a daddy's girl. Like, we come home back when she used to chew shit up.
Yeah.
We come home and there'd be like shoes and underwear chewed up. Never mind.
That's
Never
amazing.
mind. My shit would be everywhere. Her shit was put away. A fucking little daddy's girl. She used to chew my ex-girlfriend's shit up, and she never touched any of my shit. Not once.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Dogs know.
She do. Total daddy's girl.
Yeah. Well, dude, this was a pleasure, man. Absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, dude, and I hope one of these days I'm gonna get the courage up, ask you if I can come do another story, and
anytime.
I love it.
I told you. Honestly, you did better than I thought you were gonna do.
Thank you. Well, for the first time, I was like, all right. I did map out stuff ahead of time. I was like, should I wing it, or it's like, no, probably not.
It's good to be somewhat prepared. I'm gonna put out this little supplemental for people that are wanting to tell stories, because I've learned a lot. I'm not where I want to be, but. Yeah, like I was saying, resolution in a story is important, Yeah. Pacing. There's a lot of things that I learned. That's why, I have a big picture of a crowd on my wall that I practice talking to a crowd when I'm telling a story, and I practice in my house,
And visualizing what it's going to be like when they're there. Right?
Yeah, because sometimes I get distracted. I'm like looking at something, then I look at Casey, then I look at, my guitar, and then whatever. It's like, that's not what it's like when you're in a talking
when you're up
people.
there. And the time, it's so hard to keep track of how long you're.
Yeah, you ran a bit long, but it's okay.
I ran long.
I didn't stop you.
I appreciate that. I went too long, dog.
I didn't flash the lights or none of that like they do.
Yeah. Well, yeah, man. Appreciate you guys. Follow Uncle Scotchy at Uncle Scotchy, right? Just
at Uncle Scotchy on Instagram.
On Instagram, and go see Juke live, and go to the Storyteller Night at Bar Nancy.
And go to Tobacco Road every Sunday.
Tobacco Road every Sunday.
My one-man band, Uncle Scotchy, every Sunday for the rest of your life.
Boom.
Boom.